So I find this video very interesting. Chris Cuomo was at the DNC. Now remember, Chris Cuomo was a CNN anchor for a very long time. Then he was out in the wilderness for a while because of the scandal with him and his brother. You know, there's he was doing some very unethical things as a journalist, let's say, journalist. And so now he apparently works for News Nation. And he had this moment at the DNC, which went kind of viral. Let's listen, and then we'll break it down.
A big theme here at the DNC is that they're going to go after corporate gouging. And they're going to go after corporations, whether it's in taxes, largesse, loopholes. The RNC, we heard the same thing. They're going after the elites, the two sets of rules. Let me reveal a reality to you that has to be spoken to here, okay? These are the soldiers. These are the men and the women that go back to their constituencies and their communities, and they fight. They take time from their jobs. They take time from their families. Republicans and Democrats alike, that's what they do. They need to charge these people up. They need to be able to get them on board. But there's another reality that is literally looking down on them. Greg, look at the ring of sweets, okay? This is not unique to Democrats. There is a game of money. When people talk about uniparty, we are strangled by the money reality in our politics. Those suites start at 500 grand. You think there's like a teacher group up in there? You think it's like the Cub Scouts of Columbia County, South Carolina, that's up in those boxes? Some of them are lobbies and good things. The media boxes, you think they're free? Why do you think I'm on the floor? News Nation is not a broke company. Nexstar is a massive organization. We are corporate media. We don't have one of those boxes because that's the game. You pay to play. Those boxes are filled with the same people that they say they're going to regulate. They are literally looking down on the faithful and being told, yeah, we're going to break down on them. We're going to make them pay their share. They paid $500, $700, $1 million, $1.5 million to have those seats. They get hotel suites that are probably gifted to the party. And the same thing is true with the Republican side. And they're going to take them down. They're going to change how it is. They are looking down from on high at the people who make the difference in their communities. And that is the reality of politics. And I had my producer walk around and show you those suites. Now, they're not all the same. They're not all the same. But the reality is, in 2000, they spent $300 million on presidential campaigns. 24 years later, you know what they're expected to spend? $10 billion. Do you know how much money Harris has raised in the last couple of weeks? Hundreds of millions. And that's success. A lot of it's small donor, a lot of it isn't. The most dangerous money in politics is now legal money because of Citizens United. You've got to know this. The idea that they can fight against it is almost laughable. It's almost laughable. So look and listen when you are told these things. Because I don't care what they promise you. Not here tonight, not at the RNC, not that Trump knows them, not that they don't own them. He did one of the biggest fundraisers I've ever heard of in my life out where I live. Millions of dollars a plate. That's the reality of politics.
That was spot on, but I have to ask Chris Cuomo, how long have you known this for? How long have you known this for? Because this is a rant that could have been delivered, an impassioned rant that could have been delivered when you were on CNN and your show was one of the higher rated ones, right? How long have you known this for? And why is it that this is the first time I'm really hearing you talk about it? And to be fair, maybe there was another time he talked about it that I just missed. But this, I mean, I certainly haven't seen anything this passionate and spot on from Chris Cuomo. Because there was a time when he was in that game, right? There was a time when he was a CNN host. There was a time when it was like the gentleman's agreement that none of us are going to talk about that shit because we're actually part of it, right? So I do have to ask that question, even though he's spot on, right? And then the only other minor point that I would add, he's right on the broader point, of course, that money corrupts politics, and it's you're never going to get the proper amount of change because of the corrupting influence of money. From the military-industrial complex, from Big Pharma, from the health and insurance companies, from Wall Street, etc. You're never going to get the proper amount of change, the change that the people want because of that. He's right about that. But what I would also say to him is, let's not do a full false equivalence, because that's just not true, because that's just not accurate. In fact, you could make the argument that one of the reasons why the Democrats are objectively marginally better on these issues than Republicans is because of the donor base. Now, some donors they share. Military-industrial complex, Wall Street, they share those donors. But then there's other, like the NRA is only Republicans, for example. Big Oil is almost exclusively Republicans with some minor exceptions. And on the Democratic side, there's union money, right? And there's lawyer money. And so that's a different donor base, which does lead to some different results. Like if you have unions as a big donor, then you are going to get better economic policy in that instance because of the union money. Now, I would easily make the deal, hey, let's get all the money out. Let's have total, what's called public financing of elections, or as it's called, clean elections. I would agree to that right now. But again, I just want to argue against this notion of it's exactly equal and they're equally corrupt. That's actually not true. And you saw this from $1,400 stimulus checks from the Biden administration, project labor agreements, which Biden did, which raised the pay of 200,000 construction workers. It was Biden who did $15 minimum wage for federal contractors and employees. That is something the Trump administration didn't do and would never do. The NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board, they've been phenomenal under the Biden administration. They've been genuinely pro-labor. This is something we didn't see not only not under Trump, but not under Obama, not under Clinton, because these were more corporate centrist neoliberal types, whereas Biden in some ways broke from the economic orthodoxy. Biden, of course, did the PACT Act, which was healthcare for veterans who were exposed to toxic burn pits. The Democrats added 800,000 manufacturing jobs. Under Trump, he lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs. We had the CHIPS Act, which is bringing back microchip manufacturing for this country. We had 15% corporate minimum tax rate, which is inconceivable under a Republican. All they want to do is cut that. $64 billion more for Obamacare to give more people health care. I can go on and on, but I think you get the point. The money is the heart of the problem in our politics, is the corruption that runs through our politics, and that's correct to call that out. But at the same time, don't mislead people into thinking everything's exactly equal all the time with both parties. That's just not true. And then we could even get into the foreign policy conversations where, again, it's like you have bad and horrifically bad. But again, it's not true that it's the same for both. But overall, much better from Chris Cuomo than I've seen in the past. I just would have to ask the question again, why didn't you say this stuff in the past? Right? You were on CNN. You were one of the biggest voices. And there it was, I didn't see much of this. But now it's, now that you're with News Nation, who doesn't have as much funds as CNN and the other mainstream media organizations, and you're on the floor and you're not in the box, there's almost a little bit of like, are you bitter about this? Like, do you want to be in the box? Is that what it is? I don't know. I'll let you guys answer that question. All right, guys, that's the show. Love y'all very much. You know the drill. Everybody click like, click subscribe, all that fun stuff. Thank you to everybody who supports the show on Patreon. That link's below if you'd like to help out, or you can tip with the thanks button on YouTube. And I will see all of you tomorrow. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.